Good morning. Boom. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today, we're going to be finding out
what is AUv3 and Interapp audio on iOS.
We're talking tech today. We're going through the history of iOS and how it's changed. But first, we're going to kick off following the week of Wolfstone Studio to save this lonely soul.
Save this lonely soul tonight.
Save This Lonely Soul, man. From Wolfstone Studio, who I've been actually featuring all week this week because we're building up till tomorrow where Ron and Jenny from Wolfstone Studio will be here live in the on the interwebs with me talking about one of their songs. We're going to be doing Behind the Song tomorrow. We're going to take their project, we're going to break it down and show you how it was made, all the instruments, all the concepts behind it, the effects that are put on it, all that jazz. We're going to be doing that tomorrow, so hopefully you can come and join us for that. Should be very fun. I'm really enjoying doing the Behind the Song series again. It's episode 7 of Behind the Song. There's a playlist you can find on the channel, which will go back and show you all the other ones that we've previously done. And that is happening tomorrow. And so there's a pinned comment up the top, as usual, in the chat. If you want to go check out Wolfstone Studio, there's their YouTube channel and their song whip link, which you can go to Bandcamp from that link. Spotify, Apple, Deezer, whatever it is that you choose to listen your music on, you can find it on that link. My name is Jade, and this is How to App on iOS, where every day, except for today, we talk about apps. Well, we are talking about apps. We're talking about technology today, where we have fabulous interviews with really interesting artists, and we take a look at song creativity, app reviews and tutorials, and live performances, and you name it. It happens here all the time. You can also become a Wart Warrior here on the channel by clicking the join button if you're on a browser and for $1 a month. Or if you are on an iOS device or anything like that, there's a link in the description that should open up into a Safari browser where you can join that way. And if you are a Wart Warrior, you can also partake in this weekend's quiz that is happening for our Wart Warriors. It is number 3. It is the 80s quiz. I was filling in the questions last night, getting them all ready. They're all looking good. There's some hard ones. There's some easy ones. There's some fun new questions. Finish this line kind of questions. So it's looking good. It's looking like it's going to be a heap of fun. So hopefully, if you are a Wart Warrior, you can come and join us. That is happening Friday in the US and UK, and Saturday morning here in Australia. Indeedy do. Let's say hello to all, and then we'll get into today's technology topic, because we're going to do a little bit of a walk down history of iOS and how easy it's become to make music using iOS. When it first started, it wasn't like it is now. We didn't have all these plugins and apps. It was very basic, very hard to do things back then. We'll talk about the history of VSTs and all this kind of stuff today. So hopefully you can hang out for it. It's going to be fascinating, I hope. Because, I forget sometimes. I'm sitting here every day talking about apps and AUv3 and inter-app audio, and not everybody understands what those things are. I forget that sometimes. So it's a good chance to, take a step back. And I'm trying to find the right pad. I can't even find it. I'm terrible. Here we go. Is it here? That's not a reverse. That's a record scratch. Damn. Do I have a reverse? I don't even know. Well, let's just try an air horn. Are you awake? I'm awake now. Let's say hello to you all. Hello, Falcro. This guy, no understanding. Oh, bullshit, Falcro. Oh, bullshit. Here's the deal, man. It's my opinion, and you can tell me to F off if you don't believe it, but we often talk ourselves into believing we can't do things. Yeah? I see it all the time. I see people say, I have no idea how to do that. I don't know. I'm terrible at learning things. And it's like the classic of the elephant, yeah, that you chain to a fence for years and years. You chain it to a fence. It's chained up for years. For the first 2 years, that elephant is going to try and get away from that fence. And after 2 years, it just goes, you know what? I'm fucked. I'm chained to it. What's the point of trying to escape? And after those 2 years, you could tie that elephant to that same fence with a piece of tooth floss, and it wouldn't run away. It wouldn't even try to run away because it's tried so long. right? So if you keep telling yourself all the time that you're no good and you can't understand things, you're the barrier. You are the barrier to learning. And I think it's a good thing to understand that sometimes we can be our worst enemies by telling us, I don't understand that. I'm the worst at technology. I'm the worst at cooking. It's like, you're not. It's just you won't allow yourself to actually make the mistakes to get better at it, you know. It's all about making mistakes. Princess LDG is here for about, 2 minutes. Robbie Stingle, hello to you. Joe Glenn. Hugh Caldwell, what's happening? Yes, Hugh Caldwell played a bunch of music on the Wolfstone Studio album. Russ8889 is here. Hello, Josh. Welcome aboard. Who else do I see? Gregory O'Sullivan. We've got Thomas Christ, head moderator. He gives great head. Jim Shannon on sounds. That's never going to go away, Thomas. Barry Glenn. It probably will go away because jokes on this channel last about a week. You know what I'm saying? Cheers. Ashley, what's going on? It's good to see you. You're awake. You're up early. I've said hello to you. Who else do I say? I saw Leela somewhere here. I'm trying to find her comment, but I know Leela's here. So hello, Leela. She just had a great stream where she was playing music for you all, performing like she does every week at this time before my show. There she is. I'm here, but my keyboard and trackpad are charging. So no typing from me, except she's typing to tell us all that. Wolfstone Studio, there's Ron. He'll be joining us on the show today, who says, I saw Ron type, what a surprise. I'm like, dude, I've been playing your music all week today, all week to kick off the show. Have I got everyone? Said hi to Greg. I think I've got you all. I think if I've missed you, there's Mateus. Hello, Mateus. Mateus went back. He's just become a Wart warrior recently. He went back and watched the last roast with Dot. And I gather by the comment you left, you had a good time. Dot's a legend, isn't she? She's amazing. Unfortunately, Dot won't be on the quiz. There's Cold Acre. I think I saw Audible Video here as well. Brad's here too. So I saw Brad put some emojis in the chat and all that. All right, let's cover a couple of things. So you may know, or you may not know, I have been waiting on a new gear acquisition to my studio. Hi, Gary. I see you. I've been waiting on some gear acquisition. So one of the reasons today I would have been working on finishing my Kindercore song using N-Track Studio Pro. I had to cancel the show, and it's partly due to this. Hi, Andy Goldsby. What's going on, mate? Good to see you. So part of the reason I had to cancel the show, after last week's show when I was working on my track, let's play you the track so far. We'll give you a bit of a update. I did a mix down of the track. So this is the new Kindercore song I've been working on for the last 5 episodes of this special series. For 4 episodes, sorry. So we'll hit play, make sure it's not too loud. So that's what I've been working on for the last 4 episodes. But I was planning on doing that show today and finishing it all off, having the vocals ready and doing some mixing and mastering to wrap it all up. But unfortunately, when I finished the show last week, I went back and had a listen to it on my monitors. Yeah? And it sounded fucking terrible. It sounded awful. And the monitors that I've had for the longest time are a set of M Audio BX5 monitors. They're about 100 watts. Really good monitors. Like I think they set me back for a pair, something like $400 Australian, which equals about $1.50 US. Not that extreme, but extreme. But yeah, I noticed there was a real lot of bottom end in my monitors, and I think my monitors are fucked. So I went on a mission to try and find new monitors, hoping I would get monitors to be able to listen to the mix and get a better idea of how it sounds. So I bought some new monitors, and they were supposed to be here Monday, and it's now Thursday. And they didn't arrive till yesterday, but they're here now, so I can't cry too much. These are what I got. The KRK Rocket 5 G4s. Oh, look at that see-through box, nice green box. I'm Ron Ward. It's the backgrounds. It's Ron Ward's monitors. So these arrived yesterday, and you know what happened? I pulled them out the box, the first one, and put my finger in, and guess where my finger went? Right into the tweeter and pushed it inside. Brand new monitors, and I pushed my finger straight into the tweeter, and it was all squashed in. Luckily, thanks to YouTube, I found a video of a guy with a toilet roll putting it on the tweeter and sucking, and I did it, and it came straight back out. So it's perfect. So there's one of them there. So they're both set up now. Now these things are pretty cool, eh? They've got a digital EQ on the back. So, and it comes with an app as well, so you can actually set your phone in the middle of the room and play some sounds, and the microphone takes a read of the room and then helps you to adjust the EQ to suit the room and your soundproofing and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be setting those up. But yeah, so that's why we're not doing the show that I was going to do this week, because I spent 3 days waiting for these monitors that kept coming out for delivery, and then they'd go back to the depot. And then the next day they'd come out for delivery and they'd go back to the depot. They just can never find my house for some reason. So that is why we're doing today's show. And I'm kind of excited to talk about this. So we're going to talk about AUv3 and InterApp audio, a little bit of history on how they came about. What do they mean? How can you use them? How can you use them to the fullest extent? How can you get the best results from using them? And let's jump over here. Quickly have a look at any price drops for apps before we jump in. Sampletron's on sale, a massive savings for Sampletron, $79 to $39. Guess what? That's an AUv3. Nearly all of these are AUv3s as well. So K7D tape delay. We've got a Bleach slow machine. Bunch of stuff on sale. Hi, Ed Zielinski. So let's start at the beginning. When I first got into iOS, it was a very different landscape for making music. There weren't no AUv3s. There weren't no apps. My first iOS device was an iPhone 1. And they weren't even released in Australia. I imported one from the US. And the worst thing was I couldn't even use it on my network here because the original iPhone was locked to a carrier in the US. So it was absolutely pointless me owning it. But was it? Absolutely not, because I like to tinker with things. And I was one of the first, not the first, or I was a part of a group of people who first jailbroke the first iPhone and was a part of a movement of the jailbreak movement where we were able to get into the file system of the iPhone and tweak it and add things to it that we wanted to, like, changing colors of backgrounds, adding fonts, doing things. We were like because the first iPhone that came out had a camera on it, but it didn't have a video camera. You could take photos, but you couldn't shoot video. In the jailbreak community, we actually made code and created a app to turn the camera into a video camera. Nearly everything, and throughout the history of iOS, nearly everything you have on iOS today first came from the jailbreak community. It was coders who were creating these hacks. And Apple was ripping off everything that the jailbreak community was doing. Every single notification center, the control center, every single thing that is on iOS today has come from jailbreaking. And back then, when they first dropped GarageBand on iOS, GarageBand was very bleak. I mean, we complain about it now being utterly bleak, but back then, really bad. No, you couldn't add any, extra effects or anything. What you found in GarageBand is what you got with GarageBand. That's it. And the original DAW that I had before GarageBand, I still have on my device, called Music Studio. And look you'll see how old and outdated this thing is. Look at this. And I still use this. This is the first, I believe, the first serious DAW that was on iOS. Look at that. We've got drum pads here, and you could change over here to keys. You had a whole bunch of instruments you would have to pay a little bit of extra money for. You got a bunch, but and you know what? The sounds in here were pretty cool. Even like the strings, classical instruments. Let's see what we've got for strings and choirs. Listen to these. Besides Nano Studio, but I can't class Nano Studio as a real DAW. Sorry, Russ, because it didn't allow you to record audio. If it doesn't let you record audio, I'm sorry, it's not a DAW. Even though it's a DAW, but, it doesn't allow you to record audio, so... But for me, this was the first actual real DAW. Does it? The original Nano Studio? I don't know. I think I had it. The original Nano Studio, but I didn't pay for it. Maybe I pirated it. Because that was the other thing with jailbreaking. You could pirate anything back then. They were different times. I would never pirate stuff these days. So in here, now I preferred this. I definitely preferred this because this to me was like, it looked like a studio. Yeah, it actually looked like a studio. Oh, this, all right, Russ. So the same way as Nano Studio 2. So you can't record audio straight into it. That's what I'm saying. I can't set up a track and just sing into it. You can import audio into it, and that's a totally different thing. So yeah, with this, you could actually add tracks here. You could create a brand new track with this, record a waveform in here, import a waveform. How do I have to? Actually, yeah, here we go. So you could record stuff in with this. You've got monitoring. I mean, look how old this thing is. It's so, so outdated compared to everything else going. What do we want to do? Let's jump back over here. Can't play this track. Let me load up a project. Look at the projects page. Let's see if I can find, because now remember, I've been using this for a real long time. And I started recording my current Dread Circus album that I'm trying to finish this year actually on this. And let's see if I can find one of the projects. Do a quick search. New Life. This could be one. Let's see if we can load this. Let's hit play. Everything's muted, it looks like. Mute, unmute. Wow, that's got some volume. There we go. Bring these down. So back in the day, this was incredible to me. to know I could use this as a DAW. But again, when I first had this, there was no inter-app audio, no AUv3. The thing you had to do was you had to jailbreak, right? If I wanted to like mix down a track in this to an audio file, I would have to mix it down, and then I'd have to get into my jailbroken iPhone, find the song in the file system because it was jailbroken, and then I'd have to email that file over to a computer or move it to another place in the file system and then open up GarageBand and hope it would recognize it. Or I would have to email it from the file system of the iPhone over to my computer and email it back. Oh my God, it was so painful. So painful to do this kind of stuff. Let's jump in here and check out some more of these instruments. So, I mean, in here you had like saxophones. They're not the best. They're not amazing. They're not amazing. You've even got electric guitars in here. Do we have a muted or an overdrive? Maybe a metal guitar? So this is what I used mostly for GarageBand. It had its own effects. So you've got like reverbs and no effect. You can add effects in here. What do we got? So you got phaser, delay, EQ. And you can see down the bottom, inter-app audio, because they added inter-app audio later on. Now, with all the jailbreaking and when GarageBand came out too, there was no way to send files elsewhere and do all this kind of stuff. So you couldn't, I don't think so. No, Ed. The developer of this, I don't think has released really anything else. If I have a look, is it even still on the App Store? Music Studio. Yep, still on the App Store. Yeah, so... Oh, so Steinberg's purchased it now. It looks like Steinberg actually own this now. There you go. So that's who owns it now. Steinberg must have bought it. They probably took some of the technologies out of it and imported it into some of the Cubasis stuff. So yeah, you had to purchase this, a one-off purchase, and then you had to buy the extra in-app purchase of 60 extra instruments. But this is what we were working with. And look, if I go back, this came out more than 10 years ago. There you go. So, and that was the 2.7 update. So it had been out. It was around a long time. I reckon it was around probably from about 2008, 2009. It came out. So it's a workhorse. It's been around for a long time. But still something I will go back to. Yeah, definitely go back to. So what happened next was somebody needed to put their hand up and say, right, we need to create a way for, because, Apple was releasing all these apps with pianos and things like that. And then you've got GarageBand, and you've got things like Music Studio and Nano Studio. There had to be a way for these apps to be able to communicate with the DAWs, because what's the point of having all these great apps that make no communication with anything? And that was when a little app came along that was called Audio Bus. And it's interesting, I still haven't done a show on Audio Bus. I don't know why. Let me bring up here and show you Audio Bus, because Audio Bus is still around. I think we'll do a show on it really soon, because Audio Bus is still very relevant. Here it is here, Audio Bus. And what Audio Bus did was very clever stuff. It created a medium between an app, say a Korg keyboard app, and a DAW. But the way it was implemented was the developer who was making the app had to put in the code into the app for Audio Bus. It had to take in the code that was within Audio Bus to communicate. So you would see in a lot of old apps, it would say, this app works with Audio Bus, because Audio Bus was the go-between. It became like a handshake between a standalone app and something like GarageBand or Music Studio. So you could play a foreign app piano into. Clunky, but it worked, yeah? And Audio Bus is still used today by many, many people. And here is Audio Bus. For some reason, I've not done a show on it. I don't know why. And it's changed over the years. It's definitely changed over the years. I used to use this a hell of a lot because it was really easy to use things like bias guitar effects, which is inter-app audio only, into GarageBand. But these days, it's got things like MIDI. You can actually record MIDI, record audio. It's got a mixer. You can input, have effects in the middle, and then have an output to a DAW. So it's come a long way, Audio Bus, but the thing was, Audio Bus was a godsend for a lot of people because now we could actually use these external instruments with our DAWs. And Apple caught wind of this, like everything Apple does, and they cracked the shits. They certainly cracked the shits. And there was a period of time with Apple where if an app got popular on the App Store, Apple bought them. They just bought them out. And then they took that app, they rebranded it, and they added it into the next iOS update, and it became their app. And Audio Bus, which is designed by an Australian, by the same person, Michael, who created Loopy Pro, which is, a massive app over the last year, came out over a year ago, and really was a groundbreaking looping DAW kind of thing. And this came from Michael, and it was the go-to. And Apple was like, how do we crush this? How do we stop this? How do we get a slice of the pie? And because obviously they should have had some kind of audio technology for us to do this. I mean, if you're going to have millions of apps on your app store and they can't talk to each other, what's the point? Yeah. But iOS was very slow to develop. So what happened with Apple was they created a standard called IAA, Inter-App Audio, and that was to combat Audio Bus. And the way Inter-App Audio works is, let's show you exactly how it works. I'm pretty sure I've got, let me find an app that's only Inter-App Audio. Here we go, Moodscaper. Moodscaper is a really cool app, but unfortunately, it's only Inter-App Audio. So if I open it up, here it is. It's all, I can do some really cool things. It's, I haven't actually used this. I forget how to get it playing. How do you get it playing? There we go. So Moodscaper creates cool soundscapes where you don't even have to think about it. You can change notes and stuff. It's really cool. But unfortunately, this hasn't been updated for a very, very long time. And it still is only using the Inter-App Audio technology. So let's tell you when Inter-App Audio technology came into play. So it was in 2013, Apple introduced Inter-App Audio. It was on iOS 7 that they introduced this. And the thing about it was you couldn't use it inside a DAW. You had to open the app separately and then open up your DAW and then make them communicate with each other. The same way that Audio Bus would do that also. So now, if I open up GarageBand, for example, let's show you how we would do that. So I've already opened up Moodscaper. We'd open up GarageBand, create a new project, and you have this little section here called Audio Unit Extensions and Inter-App Audio. So we'd click on Inter-App Audio. Now, because I've already opened Moodscaper, GarageBand understands that and it can see that it's open, so it's put it at the top of the list. And when I click on it, it takes me over to Moodscaper. Now, when I click back over to GarageBand, it's created a track here, and you can see here, it's got the little Moodscaper icon. So instead of me plugging in a mic in this position, it's talking directly to Moodscaper. So now all I would need to do is hit record. We'll turn off the metronome. Hit record and jump over to Moodscaper and hit go. Then when I go back to GarageBand, look at that. It's recording the audio straight in. So I only had that set to 8 bars. But the problem is, as you can probably well see, this is a little bit annoying because I have to keep jumping back between the two apps. And things weren't as easy as what they are now. So I'd have to close it and then open up GarageBand and go over here and check everything was recording and then close GarageBand and go back over to this app and see if it was working. In the first iterations of inter-app audio, this was the problem. You've got these two apps that take up the full screen, so you're bouncing back and forward, and it's a bit painful. But it actually worked. It worked, it did the job, and it kept people happy for a little while. And I'm sure Apple were stoked because they were possibly cutting into Audio Bus's success. But here's the deal, right? Audio Bus never just sat on their laurels. What Audio Bus did was they incorporated inter-app audio into their system. So now if I go over here to Audio Bus and choose input, you can see down the bottom here, there's audio units and apps. These are inter-app audios. So they allowed you, I could find Moodscaper probably in here. If I did a search. Is it in here? No. Or is it in here? Or is it in here? I haven't used this for fucking ages. It's been so long. Or maybe it was even in the middle one. In the effect, I doubt it. Moodscaper. See, here's all your doors. So you can select an output to your doors. You've got systems, so you can do all this kind of stuff. So they, Audio Bus actually adapted and allowed you to put inter-app audio apps in here as well. So Apple were like, what the fuck? I think Apple were probably hoping they could buy out Audio Bus because that's how they used to operate. But no, Audio Bus adapted and grew with it. And for me, I found it a lot easier to use Audio Bus back in the time. You can actually see here, if I go to my saved projects, I still have some projects down here. If I open this up, if I load this, this is, let me close everything that's running in the background here and show you what's going on. This is a little thing I had set up, which loads Music Studio. Let's see if it will launch. Maybe I've got to open it first. This is the problem with inter-app audio these days. Let's try launching Music Studio. It's a pain. It was still a pain, this whole system. It was a big pain in the ass. Let's try it again. Restart. See? I'm already having heaps of trouble with it. Let's try reloading it. We'll do a Music Studio. It says restart. So there's already issues. If I tap to launch GarageBand, allow, and now GarageBand is connected. Oh, now we're connected. So now this is connected into here. So I could play anything I want now into GarageBand. So if I go over here, take this track. Let's see if we can get this to work. I haven't used Audio Bus for ages. Oh, no, people see Russ still uses it. Yeah, it's fine when it works. It's so true. So let's create a new track here. Just create a clean track. And we'll go in and choose Inter-App Audio. And I think you choose, do you choose Audio Bus? I think it's Audio Bus. It's been a while, man. Inter-App Audio isn't available. Or is it already connected? I think it's already connected. I'm so good at this, man. I'm teaching you nothing. Because it's old technology, man. It certainly is older technology these days. Okay, so I should be able to just play. There's Ableton Link as well. So yeah, normally I would be able to play this through here. And you can see, there it is. It's already coming through. It just automatically connects. It's still a bit loud, but you get the idea. So you get the idea. Interapp audio is it's all connected through there. So I can go back here, go back to the start and hit play. Actually, we'll do it this way. And you could even do things like, let's say, go in here to our setup and set the MIDI clock. So have we got, I can't even remember where MIDI, send MIDI clock. Oh no, do you do it in the other one, I think. I think you do it in GarageBand. MIDI clock, advanced, send MIDI clock. So when I hit record here, because this is all connected through audio bus now, right? When I hit record on GarageBand, it's now automatically playing over here because the MIDI clock's connected. And we're using this as the intermediate. And you can see here on GarageBand, it just recorded that in. Let's stop that recording. I can't even stop the recording. I think I've got to stop it here. So you've got to stop it. So still, even though, right, everything was cool, and this thing's still recording and playing. I can't even stop it. There we go. So you could see my screen's gone completely black. What happened there, man? GarageBand is so weird. There we go. We're back. So it was great for the time, but let me tell you, the reason why Apple decided to move away from Interapp audio, as you can see, it's great when it works. When it works. So it had issues. It had issues. It was relying on a technology that was ultimately difficult, right? And the other thing too is you could only run one Interapp audio effect or one instrument on one track of a DAW. So you couldn't stack up effects or anything on each track like this. You could only... Man, why is GarageBand all messy? Let's try shutting it down, reopening it. Is it back? There we go. So, yeah, here... Look at that. There's some bugs. There's some bugs. There you go. Let's stop using... let's kill that. Come back over here. See if we can get GarageBand back. Can we get GarageBand back? We'll try it again. GarageBand, do you want to come back? There it is. GarageBand is back. So yeah, buggy, but hell, it was. We would take anything at that time because it was the first way. The audio bus was the first way for us to be able to transfer apps to a DAW and actually record, separate designed apps. And then Apple introduced Interapp audio, and it was supposed to be a simpler way. And what was embedded into Interapp audio, of course, is MIDI. So you've got 16 channels of MIDI in there. So, it was great for the time. But Apple were also working on another standard. And Gary Hubb says here, yeah, I use Tone Bridge with Interapp audio because I would forget my preset. And that is another problem. Thanks for reminding me of that too. One of the biggest problems with Interapp audio was it couldn't save state. So if you had settings for a guitar pedal and you had recorded those into your DAW, the next time you opened your DAW up, they're gone. There was no way to save any of your settings. If you had found the perfect tone, you'd worked hours on it, as soon as you opened that DAW, they were gone. And the only way to work around that was to do a bounce, a merge of that track. It was to bake in those effects into an audio track, and then you wouldn't, when the next time you loaded the project, you wouldn't need to load the guitar effect because it was baked into the track. Yeah, well, as Gregory points out here, Interapp Audio works better with Cubasis than GarageBand. Everything works better than GarageBand, yeah? But let's be honest, Interapp Audio still exists. We'll talk about that soon. Is it going away? Who the fuck knows? So, as I said, 2013 Interapp Audio became a thing on iOS 7, and it only took 2 years before Apple released their latest and greatest technology, which is the Audio Unit version 3, that is AUv3. And what you need to think about, to compare what an AUv3 is a VST. It's just a VST. It's what you would find on your PC. And a VST is a virtual studio technology where you can create apps or programs, as they used to call them back in the day, of guitar or of effects or instruments, pianos or any kind of instrument. So it's an audio plug-in software that is the PC equivalent, which is a VST. And on Mac, they created AU. And so iOS got AUv3, Audio Units version 3. So that is, it's slightly different than the AU on Mac, but as time is going on, Mac and iOS are starting to merge. So, you know, you're able to use AUv3 now on Mac, but not AU on Mac. So it was 2015 that Apple released AUv3. It was on iOS 9. And the idea is with AUv3 is that you can open multiple instances of an AUv3, be it an instruments, be it effects, or an AUv3 MIDI. And let's show you the differences of these things. So I'm going to move over to AUM, which I use nearly every day here on the channel to show things up, because AUM is again, like Audio Bus. It took me a long time to jump from Audio Bus to AUM, but I haven't looked back since. And again, when AUv3 came out too, if we just backtrack for a second, Audio Bus implemented AUv3 as well. You can see down here we've got audio units. So all of your audio units are available in Audio Bus as well. Audio Bus is still going. It can, you know, be the intermediate for AUv3s. You can load multiple AUv3s. So we could load a Bleece here. We could load another one here, a Borster, and you can just keep loading more and more AUv3s as you go. So well, there's an app, ButterSynth, that's not out. So very similar to AUM. More of a mixing kind of thing, yeah? So let's cover the 3 types of AUv3s. First, when you click on a new track here in AUM, you're given the option to do audio or MIDI. I'm going to hit MIDI first and then audio. So one of the versions of AUv3 is called AUv3 MIDI. And what this is, it will be, say, the same instance of an app. Let's show you Scalar, for example. So in the audio app here, I'm going to search for an app called Scalar. Here it is, Scalar 2. And I can load that, and this is an instrument. But also over here, I can load this as a AUv3 MIDI. And when I search for Scalar, you'll see it comes up with this thing here called Scalar Control 2. What's really cool about AUv3 is you can have multiple versions in one app of a thing that it does. So you can release one app, and within that one app, you could have a MIDI AUv3, an instrument AUv3, and you could also allow it to load as an effects AUv3, where it's just the effects that are built into the app. These are the possibilities are fantastic with AUv3. And that's why you will see on message boards around iOS, people crying their eyes out going, I love this app, but it's not AUv3. Because AUv3 now is the standard. And there's still a lot of apps out there that haven't made the jump. And they're really good apps from 10 years ago. But the developers have either abandoned them or they're too much work to go and do it. Some apps have jumped to the 21st century and updated them. Let's jump back over here to Scalar. So when I open Scalar as an instrument, there it is. And when I open it as a MIDI, it looks exactly the same. But they do two very, very different things. For example, this scalar here is an instrument. I can actually connect my keyboard to it. So I'll put an input so I can connect my keyboard to it down here. And I can make music with it. Sweet. Whereas this one, the smaller one, the MIDI one, when I press the notes, the keys, it doesn't make any sound. It doesn't make anything at all. Because all this MIDI version of the app does is send MIDI data. It doesn't create sound. It just allows you to send the notes to another AUv3. So for example, with I can now open, say, let's just open something with a glockenspiel in it, because they're always, let's do a BS. Let's do some BS. So with this version of AUv3, this MIDI, I can send an output to this app over here, choose like a glockenspiel, and now it's able to send these notes to any instrument I choose. Whereas this one has its own sounds built in. So it has like an orchestra. So it's really amazing, AUv3, because it has so much flexibility. You can, within the one app, have multiple use cases for it. And this particular app, Scalar, is really cool for building songs, right? So in Scalar here, I can quickly, let's just find an artist. I can hit this one. It creates some chords. I can copy these chords, drag them down, hit play. Sweet. But with this one, I have the added luxury of doing the same thing and sending it wherever I like. So let's take those same chords, and you can hear really cool. Now, let me just stop this, make sure this is all stopped. Good. So not only can you add instruments and AUv3 MIDIs. So as I said, MIDI is like it's a controller. It just sends notes. So you can generate notes with it. That's how you get things like Euclidean and any note generators that can generate random notes. Something like Scalar that can create chords for you. Also, let's go down here and just to explain a little bit about AUM, if you're not sure what this is, AUM, here at the top of each channel is where you would place your instrument. This is the main instrument. That's why it's a big circle. And anything underneath here, if I add more of these are effects racks. So I can add in now to this. Let's just use this. I can look for audio units, and it will only find audio units that are effects, not instruments. So as I scroll through and grab AB Vortex, this is a reverb app which I recently looked at. So now if we go over here and hit play, we've got this huge effect on here. So as you can see, AUv3 is incredibly flexible, and it's available in nearly all the DAWs that are out now. So Cubase, GarageBand, AUM, Nano Studio, you name it, Loopy Pro, they all have these slots to add AUv3s in. If we jump over to GarageBand, for example, and we'll go over to Cubase as well. Now, I'll tell you what, hi Bear, hi Many Vibes. You are the inspiration for this show, Bear, because I don't exactly remember how long ago it was, but it was a little while ago, maybe about 6 months ago. I did a show and you came into the chat and I said, this app is AUv3. And you wrote in the chat, what's AUv3? And I looked at you and thought, man, you've been over at my channel for over a year and you don't know what an AUv3 is. Man, I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. So you are the inspiration, you Bear, for this show. All right. So you may have to go back and watch the replay. All right. So in GarageBand, you've got two ways of loading AUv3s. We've already looked at Interapp Audio. When you load up a new track, you're given this window here to choose like a bass, strings, audio recorder, amp, drums, keyboard, sound library. And when you get to external, this is where you've got the option of Interapp Audio and audio units. So when you click on audio units, anything that is installed on your iPad that has AUv3 capabilities and is an instrument, remember that, is an instrument, will be found here. Because I can't just load an effect into a channel, right? Because if you load an effect into a channel, that doesn't make sense. You need to load an instrument first and then you add effects onto it. So you can see here, all these apps I have, these are all installed on my iPad and these are all AUv3 instruments. So for example, we can grab something like a iSymphonic. We'll click on that. It loads the AUv3 and it gives us this little window here to show us the app. Yeah. And so all the settings and all that are in here. So I can choose an instrument. I can choose some strings from here. Let me just do this. 1 sec. Close that out. Close a few things out here so I'm not getting any problems. Let's just close this out. iOS ain't perfect, man. So now we've loaded iSymphonic as an instrument and I can play it on my keyboard. Wicked. So it's really easy to load new AUv3s. If I want to add another track, I hit the plus, go to AUv3, and here's all these instruments again. What else can we add? We'll add something that's not too heavy on the... Let's add a house or a brass. That's actually quite heavy. And I can change these out, so I can grab, I think there are a bunch of, here we go. So now I've got two instruments loaded. When I flick between them, now the other thing that's great, and this is the most important thing about AUv3, with Interapp Audio, when you record Interapp Audio, it comes out as a WAV file. You can't record MIDI with an Interapp Audio But with AUv3, when I hit record and play my keyboard, I now have MIDI that I can go in, open up, and if I've made a mistake, I have the flexibility to fix this. I can grab these notes, move them around. I can delete them. I can change the velocities of them, make them louder, softer. You've got so much more flexibility with AUv3 because it allows you to record MIDI. And that is the most important thing for a lot of people because, like for myself, I'm a shit keyboard player. I know some chords, and when I play it in, and then I can go back, and if I've made a flub, I can go and do it. Using Interapp Audio, that ain't the case. Let's show you that, right? So now if I create a brand new track, let's go over here and add a new track, and I choose iSymphonic. Watch what happens. It probably won't work. It's opened up iSymphonic as a standalone version, right? So this is now a completely separate app. For me to go back to GarageBand, I have to jump over here, and here's the track. So it's connected. I can see there it is. So it's all good. So now if I click this, I go back over here, and I can play the notes. So they're working. I can turn this up a little bit. And what's cool, as Interapp Audio did develop, see how we've got this little icon. When I click this, they started adding little things like this little GarageBand thing. So I can bounce back and forward between the two apps a little bit easier than shutting the app and reopening it. Let's grab a different sound. Look at my saved sounds. I have some weird saved sounds here. Just ignore this shit. Let's do a huge band, restore. But why I'm showing you this is, so now if I go back over to GarageBand and hit record, and head back over here, you'll see this is recording in waveform. I can't edit this afterwards. So here's one of the drawbacks of using Interapp Audio. I can't go in and edit it. If I flub it, I have to do the take again. Yeah. So there's that. But let's delete that track. We don't need it. We'll close out this iSymphonic that's running in the background. We don't need that. And the problem is too with Interapp Audio is you're running full versions of an app. So not only where AUv3 tries to cut down the footprint of what you're using, right? So we're using a full version of an app in the background with GarageBand is just blowing the resources of the iPad out of the water. And this is where iPads struggle. So another fantastic thing with AUv3's invention in 2015 is to lower the footprint so you can have more AUv3s running inside a project like GarageBand, because not everybody can afford the most expensive iPad, you know, and iPads have different amounts of memory, can only handle so much. But let's talk about, while we're in GarageBand, you see we've recorded some notes. So we've got these notes we've recorded in here. You can also add AUv3 effects. Now remember I said when you're adding a new channel here and you add an audio extension, you can only add instruments from here. See, it even says instruments up in the top corner. It's come from instruments. But once you're inside and you've recorded something with your instrument and you go over here to the track settings and plugins and EQ and hit edit, you can add effects where it says none. And there's a bunch of stock standard things you get from Apple. But over here where it says audio unit extensions, all of the things you have installed that add effects can be here. You won't find any instruments here, just the effects. So if now I want to add something like Black Hole, now Black Hole is added into this chain, and when I click on it, it gives me a look at the app. So I can really turn up this reverb so it's ridiculous. I can get a full screen version of it. I can close that out, hit done when I'm finished, and now when I play this, maybe, we've now got beautiful reverb on there. And again, what's ace, hello Feisty Feather, we can stack AUv3. So again, I can go over here and hit edit, go back over to audio unit extensions, and let's find something like Perforator. Where are we? And everything's alphabetically done in GarageBand. There's no search thing, unfortunately, which sucks. MNOP, where are we? Perforator. God damn. So we've added Perforator here. If I go into Perforator, let's like add I don't know, something like this. So now that we've stacked this, we've got a reverb and we've got Perforator. Let's see what it does to this string section. Oops. And again, you can keep stacking these depending on the DAW, how many it lets you stack. If we go over to GarageBand here, you can see we've got 2 more available slots. So, you know, we can keep going. Now, the thing you need to remember, though, is the more you add, the more CPU, because it's just like a computer and iPad, the more memory it's going to take to run all these at the same time, yeah? So what else? Let's find maybe something Bleece. Maybe a phase mutant or something. So we've got a phase mutant here. Let's just pick a something, Chaos Rise, and let's see what this does to the song. So AUv3 is incredibly flexible. Not only can you import instruments, you can use effects. You can use it as a MIDI, an AUv3 MIDI, yeah. But there's a few things you need to know. Most DAWs, Cubasis, Nano Studio, N-Track Pro, most AUM allow you to use AUv3 MIDIs. These are the ones that control and only send MIDI notes. GarageBand, nah. GarageBand doesn't let you use them, which is incredibly unhelpful because being able to send MIDI via these AUv3 audio units is fantastic. GarageBand doesn't allow you to do it. GarageBand only allows you to use instruments and effects. So let's jump out of GarageBand, pop back over to AUM, and show you. What should we do? Let's grab a Euclidean, which we looked at yesterday. In fact, I'm just going to load a project. Oh, well, no, we'll do this. We'll do a Euclidean. So Euclidean is... here we go. Euclidean is what is known as an AUv3 MIDI. So it controls MIDI. It sends MIDI. If I can spell it right. So I need to be able to send this to an instrument. And again, I can load any instrument that I want in here. Let's just do BS16 again. Find a glockenspiel. Glockenspiel's nice. So if you understand right, an AUv3 is the equivalent, Velcro, of a VST. Now, you're already using VSTs on your computer, yeah, in Reaper. And you already know that there are VSTs that are pianos. And there are VSTs that are guitar effects. So there's the difference. There are instrument VSTs and there are effects VSTs. And AUv3s are exactly the same. They are just the standard for iOS. That's all it is. It's just a different name for VST on iOS. And on Mac, it's called AU. There's no V3. So you've got VST for PC, AU for Mac, and AUv3 for iOS. They are the three standards, major standards. Let me bring up a Glock. Close that. And we'll send Euclidean. We'll just do a random. Let's create something random with Euclidean. There we go. Something random. We've got to send this out to the Glockenspiel. Let's turn this down. So again, just so we're clear, here is in this, see down here it says MIDI. When you create a track in AUM, you get the option to create a MIDI track or an audio track. This is a MIDI track. We are running a MIDI AUv3 which only sends notes. In this track we are running an instrument. This is an instrument. We can choose a Glockenspiel or a music box. So it's just like a VST music box. Anything down below are effects. And we can, in AUM, we can load up as many effects as we want. Whatever you want. It's crazy. Until your iPad crashes. Let's just do that. There's a nice delay. Let's add some pan flow. So now we've got some panning back and forward. These are all AUv3 effects, yeah? A bit of pitch drift. So now we're getting a bit of drift in there. Is anyone feeling sick yet? I am. Oh. We can add a granulizer. And so forth. We can just keep going and adding more effects and more effects. And most DAWs that you're using to make music in, a digital audio workstation, will tell you how much memory is being taken up. Computers do this, PCs do this, Macs do this, and iOS does it as well. You can see up here we've got this little thing that says DSP. So currently running this, an instrument, and all of these crazy effects, 41% is being taken up. Now, you can blow this out by loading shitloads of effects, shitloads of things. Let's look at the project we did yesterday, this Euclidean 2003. So here, you can see we've got two Euclidean that send MIDI over here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 instruments. Each instrument has an effect added, and then we've got 4 drum AUv3s. And the result is when you play, and again, when you look at the top here, 40% DSP. So we've still got room to add more. But I'm using the latest iPad. So 3 standards ain't exactly standard. Well, PC is different than Mac, and Mac is different than iOS. But the good news is Mac and iOS are starting to merge because you can now use AUv3s on Mac. And I'll be starting a new channel soon called How to Mac on iOS, which will be, you can hopefully go and subscribe to that. You can find it now. I will be showing you the journey of how to use your iOS device with your Mac and my journey moving from iOS to Mac at the same time. Yeah, each one is a different standard for different OS, for PC, Mac, but the beautiful thing is with all of them, they all have these abilities. VST has the ability to have VST MIDI, much like Euclidean, where you can have a VST that only sends MIDI notes and makes no music. You can have a VST that is an instrument, like a piano. And you can also have a VST that is just an effects rack, like a guitar effects or something like that. And the same with AU on Mac and the same with AUv3. They all have the ability to make either send MIDI notes, be an instrument, or just be an effect. So it's a fascinating journey. I'm going to touch a little bit, step a little bit back, because inter-app audio is still around. Inter-app audio still exists, and it's interesting because Apple made an announcement that they were going to get rid of inter-app audio. They told us all that inter-app audio is going away. They're getting rid of it. And if I bring up some notes here on inter-app audio, I'm pretty sure here it is. So Apple announced back in 2019 that inter-app audio was depreciated with the release of iOS 13 in favor of the audio units standard. But we still have inter-app audio. It's still something, it's still existing. So I don't exactly know what they're going to do, if they're going to eventually can it. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's always going to be around. Why is my camera running a bit slow? What is happening here? Let me just see what's going on. I'm lagging a little bit. Have I caught up yet? Let's just go back here. Let's find my camera. I don't like it when my computer's lagging. We're going to get out of here soon anyway, guys. So thanks for hanging out and bearing with me on this journey. There's my camera. Hey, it's working again. Cool. So yeah, Apple have said they're going to depreciate it. And look, when Apple announced this, everyone went crazy. Oh my God, they're going to take away inter-app audio. I love inter-app audio. But in the same sentence, people were crying, going, why isn't this app AUv3? Why is it only inter-app audio? Because you know what? You can't fucking please everybody, can you? And I don't think they're going to can it. I don't think they're just going to get rid of it. I think they're just not going to update it. And what's going to happen is eventually it'll just fizzle out and nobody will be using it. And there are still quite a bunch of apps that haven't updated. Korg's really well known. There you go. Gregory's just said a lot of Korg apps haven't updated yet, which is odd. I don't know why. They're Korg. You know, they're fucking Korg, man. You would think they'd be updated with that kind of stuff. So the thing is, hopefully you got a little bit of an understanding about AUv3. Don't be scared of it, yeah? Because it's interesting with Gadget, because I can open Gadget as an AUv3, which is odd. We can clear this. I can go in here and do a search and find Gadget, can't I? But it's inter-app audio, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. See, there's Gadget. And you can see here, I can open inter-app audio here in AUM as well. See this? It's got little, I'll zoom in. See that? IAA. So you can still use inter-app audio here in AUM as well, and in Cubasis. So if I jump over, let's quickly do that last thing for the day. Where's Cubasis? Cubasis 3. It's the same thing, yeah? So you open up a project in Cubasis, create a brand new project. Cool, we'll call it whatever. Here's our instrument. We've got a piano here. This is the instrument you get with Cubases. You can use the other instruments that you get with Cubases. So I can change to a honky-tonk piano. Or I can use an inter-app audio. Look at this. I can go over here and you can see now, here's the inbuilt instruments with Cubases. Or look, you can choose inter-app audio. When I click on there, here's all the inter-app audios that are available to me. Or I can go to audio units and choose. We can choose anything we want. Choose any instrument we want. Let's go to Beat Hawk. So we've loaded an AUv3 instrument here. And if we want to add effects to Beat Hawk, here's where our effects are. And we can choose an effect that is built in from Cubases, or again, we can go to audio units and find like a, what do we got? Let's use this AU space effect. And now we've got a huge reverb on there. I don't know if it's that big. Let's find a preset. So it's really easy, and we can stack more effects. We can add another one here if we want. We can grab another AUv3. Let's, I don't know, we'll do another perforator because that's fun. Again, alphabetical order, no search feature, ridiculous. Come on, Cubases, add a search feature for fuck's sake. So now if we've got a perforator in here, when I hold down some notes, perfect for dance music. And when I record this, the beautiful thing is, by hitting record, here's what's the last thing I'll touch on, what's really cool about audio units. We've recorded that in. It's MIDI, yeah? I can double click on it. I can edit the MIDI. If I've played a wrong note, I can change that all up. It's really cool. But if I don't like the effects that I added, this is the difference between inter-app audio. Again, once you've used inter-app audio to record something, that sound is stuck on it. It's baked in. It's recorded. You know, it's done. If I don't like this perforator sound, I can turn it off. I can replace it. I can find a different ad. I can find pan flow. If I don't like that reverb, I can change it out. I can change it out for black hole. I'm not stuck in this position. So now if I hit play, we've completely changed the sound of this effect. AUv3 is fantastic because it gives you the flexibility to change things. Same with guitar. If I recorded some guitar in here and if I used something like bias effects, which is inter-app audio, that guitar is fucked. It's stuck with that guitar tone on it. I keep saying that'll be the end for today, but let's just show you that. Let's do it. Let's just show you that again. The instance, I think, is practical to show these things because I'm probably not going to do another show like this again. Let's grab a guitar, a audio. Turn on monitoring. Channel 1. Turn up my guitar. That sounds good, doesn't it? Let's close some things in the background here. know what? Let's just do this. We'll close that again. Come on, bitch. Set our guitar. Cool. We've got a guitar, yeah? Right. So it's a clean guitar. Let me give you this camera angle. Damn. So we've got a guitar here. With AUv3, I can jump into the effects. I can add an effect. And any guitar effect that's AUv3, like, for example, what Gary Hubbs mentioned earlier, tone bridge. Where are we? Tone bridge. I can load this up. And there's our guitar tone. So now if I record this in, wasn't in time. Right, so I've recorded that in. When I play it back, again, the beautiful thing about AUv3 is now that that guitar's recorded, I can now go into this tone bridge and I can change the pedal. I didn't like that tone. Let's do this Black Sabbath tone. And now when I hit play, let's try a different tone. So we can go in and change our tones up. That's the beautiful thing about AUv3, switching tones. Now, if I did this with the old standard of inter-app audio, things would be very, very different. Shall we try it? Let's load up a new project and go over to inter-app audio. And let's see, what do we have here in guitar tones? I guess bias effects I could load up. I've got to find it. Bias effects 2 is inter-app audio. There it is. Bias effects 2. Is it going to work? Let's grab a tone. We'll go for some metal stuff. Okie dokie. Now if I bounce back over to GarageBand, we're using inter-app audio now, and I hit record. Sweet. Now, you know what? I really don't like that tone. Let me jump over here and change the tone here in inter-app audio. There we go. You know what? It means shit because, unfortunately, that tone is now baked in. I'm never able to change that tone because I used inter-app audio. So there one last time of me breaking it down as simply as possible. The difference between inter-app audio and AUv3 is you can't record MIDI. Whatever you record in, whatever effect, whatever sound, it's baked there forever. You can't change it. If you fuck up, you have to go back and do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. If you're using inter-app audio, AUv3, it comes out MIDI. You can fix it. You can go back and change the notes. You can double up the notes. You can add harmonies in the MIDI. And you can swap out the effects if you don't like an effect that you're using. That's the difference. There's nothing to be worried about, nothing to be scared about. Preferably, AUv3 is the way to go. The more apps that come out now, anything that's new is normally AUv3. It's only older apps that are using inter-app audio. There's a lot of people out there who don't want to let go of those old apps because they're fantastic. And the problem is the code's so old, they can't really go back and add in AUv3 because of the way it was made back in the day. Yeah. I hope this has helped somewhat. And if you're, not clear on what the two standards are that are for iOS. And remember, Audio Bus is still around as well. And I'm sure it's going to be around forever. The one thing, Inter-app audio just has issues. And because Apple's depreciated it, those issues aren't going to get fixed. It's going to continue to probably deteriorate over the years because Apple aren't looking after the standard anymore. But AUv3 is just going to get better and better and better and better. And as iPads get better too, we're just going to get better apps, better memory. Things are just going to get better for iOS. And eventually, iOS and Mac will be one. They'll be separate devices, but they're already starting to merge where you'll be able to send info from iOS over to Mac and Mac back. They will become one eventually. I don't ever think there's going to be a Mac with a touchscreen. I don't think they're ever going to merge them completely, but I think they're going to continue to make iOS and Mac work together, but they want you to buy one of each. Yeah? They don't want you just to buy a Mac with a touchscreen or an iPad with a touchscreen. They want to make sure you buy a Mac and an iPad and an iPhone. Apple's never going to change. That is their MO. That is their operandi. So don't get confused and think that, you're going to get this hybrid iPad Mac. Yeah, exactly. And one every year of each. Because we're all made of money, aren't we? Speaking of which, if you like the show, send a super chat. What a segue. Or leave a super thanks after the show or whatever. Anyway, let's get out of here today. I know you all have things to do. If you've hung out with me for this long, I thank you for spending some time with me, letting me blather on. There's still 23 of you here, so thank you. Thanks, Thomas. Head moderator gives the best head on the internet. Tomorrow, folks, hopefully you can come and join us tomorrow because we've got something special for you. We have episode 7 of Behind the Song. We'll be taking a look at Wolfstone Studios' I'll Take You There track, how they made it in GarageBand. We'll go through each of the individual tracks, each vocal take. We will expose the entire song and show you how they made it. Both Ron and Jenny will be here joining me to look at their song. I love these shows. I find them really interesting to see people's processes because they're all really different. And you know what? Because they're different doesn't mean they're wrong. And most of the time you'll come away from these shows going, wow, I didn't think of doing it that way. We all work in different ways, and that's really cool. Yeah. Now, Thomas Christ is coming up next in about half an hour's time. There's a link at the end of this show. I will automatically dump you over there, so you can click the link and jump over to Thomas, where he plays your rockin' music. Yeah. Go and support Thomas. He's an amazing artist, and he provides a great service playing your music. Yeah. All right. I'm out of here. I got things to do. I got some police to call on my neighbor. Shall we finish with that today? Would you like to hear what went on last night at my house when my neighbor went crazy and threw all of his furniture into my front yard? Let's show you. Hopefully he's watching from next door. My neighbor went ballistic last night. I think he's an ice addict. And he just started screaming crazy shit. I have no idea what he was screaming about. And you know what he did? He threw all of his furniture from his top balcony into my front yard. Let's have a look, shall we? Look, this is what I was dealing with it at midnight. There's a whole fucking desk in my front yard. Mind you, I haven't mowed the lawn, but look at this shit. Look at this. So today, after the show, I'll be calling the police and getting them out here to have a look at it and having a chat with him because he's a bona fide fuckhead. And I can't wait to move. Don't take meth, folks. It turns you into a complete fucking idiot. All right, on that note, do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. And remember, as Mamsie says, we'll all rise together.
We'll all rise together. 'Cause you make me shine better. And we'll all rise together. You make me shine better. And when the night is cold